Great. Well, thank you for that, and good morning, colleagues. My name's Alan Teese. I'm the product lead at Morrisby, and I'm going to be taking you through a session which will be looking at how to embed Gatsby and Skills Builder in your school. I'll be doing this in the context of our products, but if you want any more detail on those, just come to our booth at some point or message me at the end. At the moment, I haven't got the chat window open, so I'll come to questions a bit later, but just my apologies if I can't see the chat at the moment. So hopefully you might have seen the session earlier on where Malcolm Morrisby was presented with the award from Jan, but Morrisby have been delivering assessments for career guidance for about 50 years, and we used all over the world in over 1,500 schools, and we've changed logo and branding over the years to various things, but many of you might know Fast Tomato. That's one of our products, and in fact the Morrisby Careers product that I'll be alluding to is the replacement for the Fast Tomato system. So the challenge, obviously, for those in England, and apologies to colleagues in other territories, but the challenge of Gatsby isn't so much, the concept of the framework, which I think is fantastic, isn't the measures, which again I think are great. It's just the practicality of embedding this whole system in a whole school. And what I mean by that is, it would be easy for this to become just a tick box exercise, and a lot of the careers activity that you want to record against the Gatsby benchmarks will actually occur outside of the careers department and careers sort of a scheme of influence. So for example, some of the STEM activities, some of the enrichment activities. So I guess the challenge is how to make this manageable so that the burden doesn't fall entirely on career staff, but actually is decentralized and delegated. And I picked out a couple of quotes from documents I read fairly recently. I like the SecEd one about teaching teachers being a challenging way, but also Tom Bennett's recent paper on creating a culture. This was about behavior, but it was, I think, relevant because it's how we do things around here. And I guess what we're trying to all achieve is that embedding careers as part of our school life is the way that we do things around here. And the thing I'm going to particularly focus on is how to engage other staff in this process. So more of that in a mo. Let me just move on. So first of all, what we offer in this particular area is based on a whole school careers platform, which is the Morrisby Careers platform that I mentioned earlier on. This is relevant for years 7 to 13, so you can have continuity all the way through your school, and it can help you deliver your careers curriculum, but also the PSHE elements of that as well. And a bit like Compass Plus, it's easy to administer with MIS integration. What we've added to that is a system to add activity tracking that can be decentralized to teachers, staff, and students themselves. Will automatically add and record Gatsby benchmarks to those activities, and is wider than just the careers environment, and has got the skills part fully embedded in it, and more of which in a minute. So the basic careers platform is the Morrisby Careers platform, and the add-on, if you like, is the tracker element. So first of all, just a quick canter through the platform. So this follows a fairly familiar journey: psychometric assessments, looking at your aspirations, your interests, your focuses, your values, following on from recommendations, subjects, careers, courses, apprenticeships, and then follow on with some action planning around your next step sort of thing, plus a whole range of resources. So the About Me, the psychometrics, is a detailed insight into the student. And for those of you familiar with Fast Tomato and to another extent the Morrisby profile will know a lot about the psychometric instruments that Morrisby use. So that results then in some suggestions. So here is an example of career suggestions. And I guess the challenge, as I alluded in the questions earlier on about the government data, GDS constraints, is how to make something attractive to students. And hopefully what you're looking at is an attractive career profile, actually based on NCS information itself, but also things like the roots of that career, the overview, the labour market information, that sort of stuff. And then, of course, then moving to subjects at 18, so courses, vocational qualifications, university information, and covering vocational qualifications and apprenticeships. And you'll understand that's why I asked the question of the NCS about vocational qualifications, because they're very difficult to aggregate information on FE courses and the like. So that all then results in next steps. What do I want to do next? And then action planning. So that's the basics of the Morrisby careers platform. As I say, if you want a proper demo of that, either come to the booth or sign up for a demo. We do those quite happily with our careers advisors. So to that, we've added this tracking part, and that's really the subject of this talk. And I guess first relevant question is, well, how is this different from Compass Plus? And for those in England, actually it's the perfect accompaniment to Compass Plus, because it will generate activities that can then be imported into Compass Plus. More of that later on in the talk. So let's go through the elements of what's involved in the tracker add-on to Morrisby Careers. So first of all, creating activities, and there's a set of wizards for you to create activities quite simply and assign Gatsby benchmarks and skills and the like, and add resources. So that's the first part, kind of simple wizard to do that. This then allows you to then assign benchmarks, and you'll notice from this slide that actually this is the detailed sub menus from Compass Plus, so that then you can map this activity completely to something in Compass. But you'll also notice that skills are included as well, and so the whole skills builder essential skills framework is embedded right down to the individual steps with the learner descriptions and the teacher explanation. So we can make an activity and we can, when it's completed, we can see that those skills with the right constraints have been evidenced by students. As part of that creating careers activities, there's a form system in Morrisby, so you can make forms of any different type that you like. For example, interest inventories or CV builders or options choices forms. So it's kind of a free format form library. Another function of this, once you've done your activity planning, you can assemble some of those, the ones that you want to, into a careers plan, and this will generate a careers plan document, and it's attractively formatted careers plan that you can then use to then publish on your website with things like the summary of your entitlement, your approach to Gatsby, and the like. So having assigned an activity, students are then get that activity in their part of the interface. It might be a digital thing that you do something with, or it might be just an awareness that you've done something. And then at the management end, we can then decide whether the activity that we've created is going to be automatically added to the student. So for example, a careers assembly, 20-minute activity, we want to just automatically assign that to all the students that attend the assembly. It might be an attendance thing. So for example, a visit to an employer or a visit to a college or a university, and we want to record attendance for that. Or it might be that we want evidence. So for example, if we're looking at skills and we want some evidence that the skill's been attained by the student, we'll add that skill in as part of that activity. So as you can see, simple, select the activity, tick the students, markers, complete. So fairly straightforward. And bear in mind that actually that activity will be in the students part of the application, which is where it's very different from Compass Plus. And here is another difference from Compass Plus. students in their own application can log their own activities. So, for example, volunteering they've done or work experience that they've done, visits to open days, that sort of thing. And you can simply also add skills to that duration of the activity and add evidence, for example, like a photo or a certificate, that sort of thing. Having done that activity, then the system can, if you want it to, ping a simple feedback form, again, by email or by digital alert to get feedback. So this is getting student voice, if you like, on your activity, and all the feedback is then aggregated into a report that you can then file and use for inspection or as part of the sort of school improvement process to improve your activities. So all this data that we're generating is then recorded. We have a number of ways of displaying that. So, for example, there are dashboards showing the whole school against Gatsby and skills. You can then drill down into any of the groups within. For individual students, we can see at individual level how they're doing against provision against Gatsby benchmarks, or even the particular skill steps that the student's at. And then we've got a tab within our main student database where we can see how each individual student's doing against individual Gatsby benchmarks or against skills. Now, I mentioned about Compass Plus. So having used the Morrisby tool with students to then record all your activities, your enrichment, all the rest of it, because you've delegated that to staff, obviously you're collecting a lot of information that you're not having to enter. So at this point, you can then go to our system and export the data from that activity for Compass Plus, and then go to Compass Plus and then upload and import the activity. And then the two will then match up, and then that activity will be logged in Compass Plus, for all the benefit of that John outlined earlier on about Compass Plus. So I guess for me, the challenge is not wanting to have a great admin burden within the careers office entering data around Gatsby benchmarks. Our solution is to decentralize that across enrichment, PSHE, careers curriculum more broadly. So we're like a catalyst for members of staff to embed activities. Obviously, that will add great value to Compass Plus if you're in England, and if you're not, it will provide just general value to evidence your provision. Those two products can be bought as a bundle. And I guess if you use them in the way that I've outlined, it becomes the way that we do things around here. But more specifically, if you want any more detail, by all means, come to the Morrisby booth or go to the website and book a demo. But feel free to message me and email me and contact me in any questions you have. So I'm going to come back to the main window now, and I can now see chat and questions. So if there's anything particular anyone wants to ask in the minute or two that we have, happy to try and answer it. Stunned silence. Well, that's good. We've obviously had a good session. I will take you live if you like, and show you what it looks like in real life. I'm a fan of death by PowerPoint. So Elaine, yes, paper testing finishes this year. Great. Well, our time is up. So thank you all for still testers. Oh. So Elaine, Morrisby profile is taken by about 60,000 people a year. And there's quite a lot of individuals as well. So, the profile is bought by individuals, career changers, people approaching higher education, that sort of thing. And interestingly enough, as many Morrisby profiles are taken outside of England as are taken inside England, including a lot in international schools and Australia, for example. Great. Well, our time is up. So I will bring the session to a close and thank you all.